Osama the crocodile.
Between 1991 and 2005, a massive 5-meter-long Nile crocodile named Osama terrorized the village of Luganga along Lake Victoria in Uganda. Over the course of 14 years, this predator was responsible for the deaths of more than 83 people, wiping out roughly 1/10 of the village's entire population. He would snatch people right off the shores of the lake while they were fishing or filling their buckets with water. Eventually, the villagers tried to avoid the shoreline altogether, so Osama adapted and started attacking their boats. Incredibly, this predator learned how to ram wooden fishing boats from underneath with terrifying force to capsize them and dump everyone into the water, where he would hunt them down. In some cases, he would leap vertically out of the water, land right on top of a boat, grab fishermen by the legs, and drag them underwater. Out of everyone he attacked, only 15 people ever survived. Truly terrifying. But thankfully, in 2005, the crocodile was finally captured and handed over to a breeding farm, where he was later euthanized and turned into luxury leather bags.
The beast of Gévaudan.
Between 1764 and 1767, a mysterious wolf-like beast appeared in the region of Gévaudan, France, terrorizing the locals beyond imagination. This predator was responsible for killing over 110 people, with the vast majority of its victims being women and children tending sheep in isolated pastures far from homes. Its method of attack was strange and horrifying. Unlike normal wolves that attacked limbs first, it targeted the head and throat directly, tearing them apart. The terror spread so widely that King Louis XV himself intervened, dispatching professional hunters and the royal army to hunt it down. However, the beast was cunning and elusive, disappearing into the dense forests only to strike again in a different location. This led villagers to believe it was a cursed creature or a werewolf that couldn't be killed by ordinary bullets. The nightmare didn't end until 1767 at the hands of a local hunter named Jean Chastel. Chastel decided to finish it once and for all. Using an unusual approach, he cast a bullet out of silver, recited Christian prayers over it, and went out to track the beast in the forest. When the beast suddenly appeared, Chastel stood his ground, reciting a prayer while the creature stared him down. Just before it could leap at him, he fired a single shot into its chest, killing it instantly.
The Panar leopard.
This man-eating leopard was responsible for over 400 deaths, all of which took place under the cover of darkness. For years, it roamed freely, hunting villagers with chilling ease. The locals were so paralyzed by fear that they refused to even step outside their homes after sunset. But the leopard adapted to this too. It began breaking into homes, dragging villagers out into the forest to devour them. The leopard became so skilled at hunting humans that the government eventually had to step in and call for the best help they knew. They summoned Jim Corbett, the legendary hunter famous for tracking down man-eating animals. To kill this elusive beast, Corbett had to go on numerous hunting expeditions before he even caught a glimpse of it. He trekked for days on foot through dense Indian jungles just to reach the territory where the leopard was known to hide. On one trip, he contracted malaria, but even that didn't stop him. When he finally arrived at the village where the leopard had last been spotted, he set up a trap. He tied a small goat as bait and positioned himself in a tree several meters away. Hours passed as he waited in the dark. When night fell, the bird suddenly began reacting in panic. Shortly after, Corbett heard something rustling through the bushes beside him. All he could do was sit and wait. Then, the leopard slowly made its way toward the small goat and killed it. Corbett aimed at where he guessed the beast was and fired. The muzzle flash lit up the area for a split second, allowing him to see the leopard fall and retreat into the forest. Because of the pitch darkness, Corbett returned to the village, intending to finish the hunt at dawn. However, the villagers insisted and convinced him to track the wounded leopard immediately, instead of waiting for morning. He told them the only way he would agree was if they promised to stand their ground if they encountered the beast, since their torches would be his only source of light. They agreed and promised. They began following the blood trail left by the leopard through the forest. When the leopard suddenly lunged out of the darkness right at them, the villagers panicked and fled for their lives. Yet amidst all the confusion, Corbett managed to fire multiple shots at the leopard, killing it for good.
The Gysinge wolf. In Sweden, specifically between 1820 and early 1821, a terrifying wolf known as the Gysinge wolf appeared, causing a wave of hysterical fear across local villages. Within a short period, this predator killed around 12 people and injured over 15 others. The most horrifying part? Every single one of its victims, without exception, was a child or a teenager. This wolf was unusually cunning and calculated. It actively avoided men and adults because it knew they could defend themselves, choosing instead to target young children. It would attack them in broad daylight while they were playing or working outside. The terror became so intense that families locked their children inside their homes, turning the village into a ghost town where no child dared walk outside. As the massacres escalated and the situation spiraled out of control, locals and government authorities mobilized. Hunters gathered and organized massive tracking campaigns across the snowy forests. After a long struggle and days of terror, they finally hunted it down and killed it in March 1821, bringing the nightmare to an end. The Champawat Tiger.
Known as the Demon of India, the Champawat tiger was a female Bengal tiger that entered the Guinness World Records as the single animal responsible for the most human fatalities in history, with a confirmed toll of 436 victims. Her reign of terror began in western Nepal in the late 1990s, where she abducted women and children in broad daylight and dragged them into the forest. Hunters were sent after her, but failed to stop her. Even the Nepalese army got involved without success, though they eventually managed to drive her across the border into India. The tigress continued her massacres in India, turning villages into ghost towns. The government offered a massive bounty, and famous hunters tried their luck, only to return defeated. Inspired, then in 1907, an unknown 31-year-old man volunteered. Surprisingly, he refused the reward money, saying he just wanted to help for free. This young man coordinated with 300 villagers to bang on pots and pans to drive the tigress out of the forest. However, the group made a mistake and started the noise too early, forcing our hero to sprint at full speed, sliding through the trees until he was out of breath, just to cut her off on the other side. When she emerged, his first shot hit her leg and his second missed. Seeing him, the tigress charged right at him, and just 6 meters before she reached him, he took her down with a third shot. The tragic irony was discovered when he examined her carcass. Her canine teeth and jaw were broken by a bullet from a previous hunter who had carelessly shot at her for sport. That old injury had prevented her from hunting natural prey, forcing her to go after much easier human targets. And so a 7-year nightmare ended, and that young man became the hunting legend, Jim Corbett.